Alright, so today I'm working on the square body and kind of going backwards. I feel like I keep going backwards, but I took the shocks off to replace the shocks. You can see they have no bushings at all, and they are totally have had it. And I got to looking under here. I mean, just coated with mud, grease, dirt, just never been cleaned up, never been really taken care of. And I think a little pressure washing, a little bit of degreaser, and some black spray paint, I think I can make a huge difference on how this looks. Alright, so after a couple hours of pressure washing on and off, check this out. It's like a dirt river that formed when it washed away, and here's the aftermath. Couple of shocks, empty bottle of cleaner degreaser, but check the results out. Alright, so real happy with how the back turned out, and without wasting any time, I'm going to get to this front, and I just kind of want to show you. I did get my new door hinges put on. I haven't aligned everything yet, but I really can't align everything until I get the new fenders put on. But I want to get all this cleaned up, and you can see here, and that's kind of like under the inner fender, so that is a place that nobody will ever see, but it's a mess and it needs to be cleaned up. And then, of course, you have shocks with no bushings, frame rail. I did spray this down with some oven cleaner, but look at this stuff. I mean, you can't even see, like, you can't even hardly make out. Okay, we know that's a bolt, a castle nut, but man, it's just messy, and it's just the way the whole truck is. And I've just been cleaning it little bit at a time, and I cannot wait to knock this part out and get this done. All right, here's the front, and this is the radiator support. And look at that, just nasty. So on this side, kind of the same deal. You got that area again underneath the inner wheel wells that again, no one would ever see, but I know it's there, so let's get it cleaned up. You've got your frame rail, and look at this nasty mess right here. So here's all your steering, and this truck's steering from the one, a couple times I've driven it, it's not the greatest, and usually the culprit is that steering box, and all this stuff is also part of the problem, obviously. But typically the steering box is where you can take the majority of the slop out of your steering. Typically, if you change the steering box, at least that's been my experience, and all these other things obviously help tighten it up. But what a mess! What a mess! All right, so just as a kind of just in case, I got a tarp over the motor distributor. Don't want to get any water up there. I'm not going to be spraying up there, so we should be good. And let's get into it, because I guarantee you I can make a big difference in how this looks, and it's going to look just as good as the underneath does on the back of the truck. All right, so kind of got rained out tonight for my painting project on the front of the truck, so I thought I would switch gears a little bit, and I wanted to get the bench seat pulled out and all this crap. And you guys wonder why these old trucks get a certain smell to them, and it's because this stuff, in my opinion. And an old seat like that, just collecting mildew and getting damp and moist over the years. And then check out this dash pad. I mean, that thing is just it's had it. Look at that. So that was my dash. The seat actually is not in bad shape, honestly, but I've got other plans for that, and I don't believe I'm going to reuse that seat. And even though this looks really messy and just obviously dirty and needs to be cleaned up, the floors in this truck are solid as a rock. This back area is solid. I mean, everything looks really good. And other than the cab corners and this little spot on the rocker right here, I mean, this truck has very minimal rust in the cab. And obviously I've shown this before, but there's the cab corners. And both of them are like that. But and then this spot right here on the rocker that's not even all the way through, but it probably needs to be replaced, along with this lip here is kind of chewed up. But the rest of the floors are in really good shape, so kind of bittersweet. Yeah, okay, it's nasty. We got a mess to clean up, but once we get it cleaned up, we can start looking at different seating options and figuring out what we want to do there. Maybe put a headliner in there. But anyways, I'm getting off track. I just wanted to show you guys this and just take it all in. All right, so here's after vacuuming and wiping this thing down with bleach. And I can tell you, now that it's cleaner, there's definitely some spots here that need attention. They're not through. Yeah, nothing's through. It's really solid, but yeah, all this needs to be sanded down, and that rust needs to be stopped. So I'm probably going to end up grinding this down and doing some pour 15 on it. Probably going to end up doing pour 15 on the whole floor here. No one's ever going to really see it because I'm going to either put carpet or a rubber floor mat down. But let me show you the other side real quick. So this side actually looks better than the other side, but that spot's a little bit worn, but that's nothing. That's not anything bad. I don't see spots like I saw on the other side. And I don't know what happened with this door. You can kind of see some mud back in there. I don't know if this thing got sunk in the mud at some point in its life. But we cleaned this up, or I didn't clean it up. My wife Kelly was in here, and she's the one that was vacuuming and wiping this whole thing down, so really appreciate her help with that. Very nice. All right, so hopefully tomorrow I'll be able to, this will all be dried out really good, and I'll be able to get to painting. And there's Jake. You gonna help me paint, buddy? I don't think he's gonna be a good helper, but he does hang out with me and keep me company. So yeah, tomorrow we'll see if we can get this thing painted up. And I got those old shocks off, steering stabilizer down there, and then the last front shock. And we'll get into it, get it painted, get it cleaned up, get it finished up. All right, so I know I said tomorrow, let's get this thing painted up, but fast forward a couple weeks, and it took that long because we got into some other stuff. And let me kind of show you where we're at. So here is the front. And you can see, compared to how that used to look, it looks great. I got shocks with bushings. All this stuff has been cleaned up and painted. And I couldn't be happier with the way that this turned out. That area is cleaned up under there. And I got the tires back on. So here's the front grille support. And if you remember what that looked like before, it didn't look great. And I think it looks great now. All right, kind of the same thing on the driver's side. New shock. And just cleaned all this stuff up. Really made it, to me, it just looks so much better. So there's the front differential, new steering stabilizer, and again, just looks great. All right, so here's the 350 crate motor that's in here, and again, this thing runs okay. It smokes a lot when you start it up, and we made the decision to do some investment of time and money into this thing to make it run as best as it's going to run. And so we got a new air cleaner that's kind of just for looks, distributor cap, rotor, new spark plug wires, changed the spark plugs. It's got a new fuel pump because the other new fuel pump was leaking gas. I did change the valve covers, and we had the valve covers off because we changed the valve seals. And I say we because my buddy Matt came over and really helped me a lot with this motor, so thank you, Matt. I don't always remember to thank Matt, but he was a big part in getting this motor tuned up and having it run the best that it can run. So the valve covers weren't a necessity, but for 30 bucks from Summit, compared to how the old ones looked, I thought it was worth it. And just to show you, there's the old valve cover. So that's kind of why I spent the 30 bucks to get new ones from Summit. And I think they look really nice for $30 steel valve covers. Here's the other side, new PCV valve. I did put a new thermostat in. The radiator was already drained. It was probably it wasn't drained, it was down to about here. So pulling that part over there and dropping in a new thermostat was worth it to me. I did top off the radiator. So the only other thing we did to the motor was change the oil and the oil filter. And the only thing we have left to do is to dial in the timing. We just want to double check that and make sure that's set where it needs to be set. All right, so the last thing I'll show you is I did get a new windshield and a new sliding rear window. So there's the new windshield. If you remember, the old one had a crack in it, and obviously a new seal for that. So that looks really good. All right, so here's the back of the truck, and there's the new sliding rear window and the new seal for that, and that really looks great. And we're starting to come together, little by little. All right, so a lot of stuff accomplished in this update, and I know that these updates have been kind of all over the place, but I really didn't plan to clean the bottom of the truck, but I went underneath the truck to change the shocks, and just felt like I needed to take some time, clean the truck up, get some spray paint on there, just make it look a lot better than what it did. And with all the dirt off, a lot of the grease off, and the new shocks on there, it looks pretty clean underneath. And it's only clean on the outsides, I can tell you that. If you get up under there and in between the frame rails, I still have a lot to do. But big step done. Also getting that motor up to the best it's going to run. So I know it's an old motor, I know it's a worn out motor, but it actually starts up every time I crank it, and it is going to run the best that it's going to run with the improvements and the tune-up and the valve seals and all the stuff that we did to it that I mentioned earlier in the video. So getting all that stuff done brings us one step closer to completing what I call phase one of this build. And phase one is, let's get this thing on the road, let's go through it, make sure we're safe, make sure we have brakes, steering, all that stuff, which we do. Update the shocks. I'm kind of picking and choosing what I want to replace and what I want to just kind of live with for now. Cleaning it up, painting the truck, making it all one color. That's phase one. We've got a lot more cool stuff to come. We've got a rear end change. We've got a fabricator rear bumper. We've got to sand down the whole truck, prime it, paint it, and just going to be a really fun build. And I can't wait to get this thing on the road and drive it around. It's just going to be a lot of fun. So hope you guys stick around for the build. Really appreciate you tuning in. Thank you for your support. And as always, thanks for watching.